Hi everyone. Okay, bit of an odd video this one. I've actually made the video already. The video's done. I'm actually recording this afterwards. And the reason because since putting the video out, Jacob made contact with me and said, there you go. There's a script that helps you do what you're going to show people. So awesome. I'm going to show you that first and actually show you this working because it's a much more condensed set of steps. So people have already done the work. I'm actually showing you here at the moment on the screen. This is PTKU, Peter. He's put together a PowerShell script, which I'm going to use. He's actually forked it from R9 guy. So again, shout out for him. That was the original bat file that could do this. But what they've done is just automate the steps and actually made some improvements as well because there's some settings that I miss in the following videos. So I'm going to show you this one first, then it will continue with my original video. There we go. So there we go. It's all about learning. We're always improving and just running through the steps as well is just something interesting to see. In the video that will follow this, you'll actually see me using Rufus to burn an image, which you don't need to do now using the script. So let me show you this first. Then feel free to carry on watching the video. There may be bits and pieces that you pick up from it as well. Okay, so what we're going to do is we've already downloaded the ISO. So again, watch the video that's coming next. We need the ISO for TwinCAT BSD from Beckhoff. You're going to download that. It's the start of the next part of the video anyway, so just watch that afterwards. Download that from the Beckhoff website. It comes as a zip file, and all we're going to do is extract this ISO file from that zip file. That's the main step you need to make. The next thing we're going to be doing is just cloning this repo. So I'm just going to get the code and we're just going to here. I'm just going to say git bash here. Let's just bring this over so you can see it. And we're going to do git clone. Paste doesn't work, so I just right click and we just clone into it. There we go. We only really need the PS1 file, so the PowerShell script. And I'm just going to paste it into here, just going to move it across because it needs to be run in the same location as the ISO file. I'm sure you could probably type in the path as well if you want it in a different place, but there we go. There we go. Right, so now I'm just going to start up PowerShell. And with this PowerShell open, I'm now going to do cd temp, which is where we are currently running. And I'm going to do /create -tcbsd vm.ps1. And the only parameter really we need to give this, again, read the instructions that's on the Git, the repo site, but we just call it something. So we'll just do this coding bytes tcbsd. We'll just go with something like that. There we go. That should be enough. There we go. Does all the work for you. Brilliant. What a great step. It's even going to start up VirtualBox for us and take us through the installation steps. So we'll have a little run through of this because again, may as well. So watch this part of the video and then just watch the start of my next video, but you'll see us run through this anyway. Let's move some of these messages out of the way. We're going to run through the install, so we're just going to install, pick the hard drive that it's actually set up 2 hard drives for us because one of the hard drives it made is install hard drive, the second one being the hard drive that it will use to install onto. It's going to remove all of the data off the hard drive as well. I'm just going to set the password as 1, which is default Beckhoff. Just let this run through. So yeah, much faster process. You'll see in the following video anyway. The typical way is by burning it onto a USB stick with Rufus. Just bear in mind, Rufus, if you use the latest version of Rufus, it blue screens Windows, so you have to use 1.3. The other steps is that you then map that to a hard drive in VirtualBox, and it's a bit of a palaver really. This is much easier to do. So once that's done, we've just finished the installation. I'm just going to shut down the VM. And that didn't work. Shut down. There we go. Because with the 2 hard drives in there, we can now remove the hard drive that we've just made. So I'm just going to open up VirtualBox so I can see the one that's just been here. Let's just move this over and move this. So Bytes BSD, you can see it's already registered it with VirtualBox as well, which is great. And I'm just going to go into settings, storage, and that's the installer disk here. So we're just going to set that as removed. Okay, and then we'll just run the VirtualBox. Much easier than my video that's going to follow. All being well. So far so good, and it's going to pop us up with our login. Let me just move this up a bit so you can see it. Login. Let's just make sure we can log in. Administrator, and the password being one, and we're done. There we go. Okay, a ton faster. There we go. Recommend using this way. Obviously, just be wary. The thing is anytime you're running PowerShell scripts or bat files that you're getting from a GitHub repo, due diligence. Read them. Make sure there's nothing. Anyone could put anything in there. I mean, the minute you're running PowerShells, the minute you're running bat files, the minute you run executables, you are taking a risk at that point. So in something as simple as this, he's automated it. He's made it into a PowerShell script. The original one was about read through them, see what they're doing, understand them. You could even copy out the steps yourself, make your own, fork their repos, change it into something else that you want to do. Just bear in mind, the minute you run something like this, a PowerShell script or a bat or an executable, you're giving someone really almost full access of your PC at that stage. So, yeah, I highly recommend do your due diligence on this. Read how they're doing it. Maybe make your own. At the moment, I've read through. It looks fine. But again, that may change. Someone may push to the repo, things get in. So just bear that in mind. But no, everything I've seen so far looks really good. Okay. Right, you're going to see the next part of the video now, which is just me downloading TwinCAT BSD, talking through Rufus, which will be some of the steps that you'd normally take when you're doing it onto an IPC anyway. And that's it. Okay, enjoy the videos and awesome community. So what a good community there is with things like this. Great work. Speak soon. Hi everyone. New year, new coding bytes. So this one, we're going to start with TwinCAT BSD, and this video is going to be inspired by a video from the Jacob series, which is all TwinCAT, his blog. He posted a blog saying about running TwinCAT BSD in a virtual PC. One of the things he said that he wasn't able to do was run it in VirtualBox, and therefore went for Virtual Machine, VMware Workstation Pro. Now, I had a run through. I was able to do it. I'm going to run through a trial again. Just live on video. We'll see how far we get, and I've got some steps written down which we should follow. I might do this in sections just in case, because otherwise I don't want to hit something I forget and then have to restart the entire video. So there may be little breaks in there, but yeah, this isn't a coding video. This is just more of a how-to. So TwinCAT BSD. This is something you can pick up now on the Beckhoff website. Just Google TwinCAT BSD, it'll drop you onto this page here, and you can scroll down, and you can see here this box that we're going to click on is what will take you actually into the TwinCAT BSD area for download, and we can do documents and downloads, softwares and tools, and downloads, and we just pick up the version here. Just download that zip file. When the zip file comes, just extract the ISO file from inside. That's the file we're going to be using. And the other thing as well you can see is the manual. So we're not going to use a manual in this because this manual is for actually installing it on an IPC. We're going to head off slightly off piste into a virtual machine. So one of the things it does show you though, when you go onto the English version, is unlike Jacob's, where he used I think it was a program called Etcher. Yep, Etcher. He used a program called Etcher, and Beckhoff recommends that you use a tool called Rufus. And I'm just going to open this up as well. Should have opened this up really before. Rufus. And something just to note, it's going to run in admin. Something just to note with Rufus is you have to have the right version. So it does actually say it in the user manual, and it says that the latest version of Windows and the latest version of Rufus is not going to work. So you actually have to use version 3.13. And they've got all the versions available on the Rufus website, which is in the manual. So just bear that in mind, 3.13, that's something you need to do. So what it's going to do, it's found a disk that's that I am going to install it onto. So this disk has been found. The other thing as well is it's saying disk.iso image. Yeah, can you please select my ISO? So this is the zip file. I've extracted this file out of that zip file, and this is the one I'm going to use. I'm just going to open that up and say, yep, please use this ISO for this USB stick. I've plugged in a USB stick into the PC, and I'm just going to hit start on here. So it's going to warn me that all data is going to be deleted. And so this step, while this is running through, what it's doing is taking the ISO that Beckhoff provides you, and we're installing it into a USB stick. Now, typically, you'd be using that USB stick on an IPC, running through the installation steps, yada yada yada, same old. When we get to actually running in a virtual PC, however, there's a couple more steps we have to take, because in all of the virtual machines I've seen so far, especially when it comes to the actual boot side of things, there's not a great deal of support from boot from USB, unfortunately. Otherwise, we would have just been able to boot from this USB. They do give you the option to boot from ISO, but the ISO for this free BSD is just not compatible with them, so you can't just mount the ISO and then just boot from that instead. And I think because virtual PCs or virtual machines are so used to people working with ISOs, they just haven't really just provided that option. So we need to have another way of using this USB stick in a virtual PC and booting from it, and actually having this as our installer, because that's what the files are. So what you're going to see next is, after this thing has finished flashing, we're actually going to open up VirtualBox, create a new virtual PC, and we'll just name it something simple. And once that's been done, we need to use a tool called I think it's VirtualBox Manager. Or let me just have a look. I've got my notes open just on the side. It's VBox Manage. Now, VBox Manage is a little tool that you get with VirtualBox, and it allows us to do some extra things. One of those things we're able to do is we're able to make a virtual disk that actually maps to a real disk. So we point the virtual machine at this virtual file, and the virtual file is actually the real hard drive. And when we say hard drive, it's a real USB stick. So we'll run through those steps, and we'll see how far we get from there. Right, this is finished. So I'm just going to close this up out the way. So at that point there, I'm just going to unplug and replug in. I've had it before where after this flashing, it's Windows doesn't detect most of it anyway, because the file system's slightly different, but it will actually detect the USB stick itself. And so we've actually got this one here now. So BF pre-bop. There we go. So that's that so far. Right. Next thing we will do. I think I might have a go. Yeah. Let's just pick a random order. I'm just going to now try and create the file that points to this USB stick, because we're going to need it. We're going to need it when we create the virtual machine. So a step that we need to do first, if we just go into, we're going to go into Windows Administrator Tools. So Administrative Tools, Computer Management. We need to go into there, because one of the things we need to get is what disk number the USB disk has been mounted. So what number is it? I'm just going to pull this across because it's pulled up over here. Just open this Storage and Disk Management. Again, these are steps that Jacob has taken in his video as well. We will start diverging almost now, because this is where we have to use this VBox Manage rather than the way he did it in his. So what we can see here is we've got Disk 2. Disk 2 is the USB stick that now holds the image of FreeBSD, TwinCAT BSD. So just bearing that in mind, it's very important that we use number 2 to do this. If you use disk 0 or disk 1, I've got 2 hard drives attached to this machine, VirtualBox will take over those hard drives and potentially just corrupt them. So just bear that in mind. Get that number correct. This is the number that we're going to be using here, so number 2. So I'm just going to shut that out of the way. The other thing I'm going to do is do a command prompt, and the command prompt, we need to run it as administrator. That's also very important. So let's just drag this across. So let's just come out of this. Let's just do, I'm just going to go into temp. And then what I'm going to do is just copy this across, and this is the command I'm going to run. So I'm pulling out this vboxmanage.exe. Commands create raw VMDK. So this means I'm making a file that points to a raw drive. The file name itself, I'm just going to slightly change this. I don't want to clash with anything I've done before. So boot, we'll just do boot CB for coding bytes. .vmdk. Dash raw disk, and then we're linking it to this physical drive 2. If yours is 1, if yours is 3, change this last digit here, okay? So I'm going to put a copy of this under this video anyway, so you can just copy this out. But just bear in mind that physical drive, you've got to get the correct one. And you have to be administrator, very important. There we go. So it's saying it's created it successfully. If we just go in here, so boot CB, so far so good. That's the next step. Next, okay, we're going to go into, let's just start up VirtualBox. I'm just going to open this. It's off screen, unfortunately, so that's just where my icon is. But I'm right-clicking on the VirtualBox icon, and I'm saying run as administrator as well. That's important. Because we're going to be using a file that was created as administrator, we have to use it as administrator, okay, just for this step. I'm going to go new, and we're going to say this is a TwinCAT, TwinCAT, well, let's do TwinCAT correctly. TwinCAT BSD, put space in there, BSD, and CB for coding bytes. This thing is BSD, and it's FreeBSD64. I don't think that makes too much of a difference what we do here. I think it just sets up an icon. There's probably some settings that's done in the background, but I've never really got into the crux of that. We're allocating a gig's worth of memory. The other thing as well, we are going to create a hard disk now. Yeah, that's something we need to do. So create a hard disk. VirtualBox this image, that's completely fine. We're happy with that. Dynamically allocated, yes, it just means it's going to grow over time, which is completely fine. Next we're going to do is it's going to be allocated as 16 gig. Again, not an issue. You can always come back and change these afterwards if you need to. Once you've done this the first time, you know how it works. So at that stage there, there's one extra setting we need to do to make this FreeBSD compatible. And we just go into settings, and we're just going to go into system, enable EFI for special OSs, and that's that. Hit OK on there. So far so good. If we were to run this now, this would actually just be empty. There's nothing inside of it. But this is the base of our virtual PC done. Next we need to add the hard drive, this file that we made that points to the USB stick. And this is what we're going to boot from. Okay, so if we just go back into settings, and we're going to go into storage, and we're going to say that we want a new controller, and it's a serial ATA controller we're going to add. We're going to add a hard disk. We're going to add, and let's just move over here. So we're going to go into temp, boot, and we're just going to select that one and choose it. So with any luck, that should be all we need to do. So we've got 2 hard drives in this virtual machine, one being this one, and one being this IDE, the one we're going to install it to. Hit OK. And that should be it. Double click, we're going to run the virtual machine. Just drag this across so you can see it. And here we go. Right, so let's just make this a little bit bigger. And let's just make sure. Okay, you can see all of this. It's not looking good so far. There we go. Let's move them out of the way. And so far, so good. We're at the installer stage. So let's just move this out of the way. Right, so this is the installation that we see. So when we're installing TwinCAT BSD onto an iPC, or now into our virtual PC, this is where we are. So I'm just going to go through, it's just saying about, do I want to capture it? We'll say OK. It doesn't support the mouse. So TwinCAT BSD install, just hit OK on this one. We're going to be installing it onto the 16 gig VirtualBox hard disk, which I'm going to say OK to. It's going to say all data will be erased. Pick a password, which I'm going to select as 1. Re-enter a password I'm going to use as 1, just keeping it standard. And we'll just run through the installation step. And we're complete. Installation's complete. So we're just going to say OK. And we're going to move this one down and just say shut down for the time being. So that's us done with the installation steps. The last thing we need to do is just double check on this. Access denied. Not quite sure with that one. Just okay for the moment. I'm not sure. I don't know. I think I might have had that the first time and it just kind of goes away at that point. So it's definitely as if maybe 16 gig. 16 gigs more than enough for a hard drive. Anyway, let's just close this down. Just power off the machine, and I'm going to remove that other hard drive. So let's just go into settings, storage, remove this controller. Now we're just going to take that away. We may as well take away the controller as well. It's not needed anymore. And then we're just going to start this back up again. Let's just give this a go because hopefully it works. Like I say, all still a bit new to me, which is this is what we're doing. We're learning, eh? This is coding bytes, so everything's kind of off the cuff, and there we go. So yeah, success. Again, I've only done this a few times, so this is me learning. There was a time actually when I run through this the first time, and I don't know. It could have been an admin issue. I might not have logged in as admin. But one of the things that was occurring is during these final steps, it was actually coming up saying it couldn't write to the hard drive. So that may well be what Jacob was having issues with, and maybe it's just a few times at it and it works, or you just got to make sure you just follow this procedure just in this order. But so far, so good. So let's just complete the step. I'm just going to move this up just because I feel that you won't be able to see all of this. So log in. So we're going to log in as administrator. Administrator. There we go. Password is 1. Just kept that as default anyway. And there we go. So we're currently at root access now on this version of Unix, this TwinCAT BSD. So I'm going to open up a new project just to show that we can now go online with this thing and just see what it looks like. So we'll call this one TwinCAT BSD. There we go. Our first journey into TwinCAT BSD. There we go. Exciting times. Add new item, standard PLC project. I'm just going to call it main like I do. And let's just throw just a very, very small project into here. Let's just do, we'll just go for my int. My int is an int. And my int is equal to my int plus 1. There we go. So it's just going to wrap around. There we go. So far, so good. Right, so the next step we're going to have to do is choose target system like we normally do. I'm just going to search my Ethernet, do a broadcast search, and this should be using VirtualBox host only. It depends on how your network's been set up, actually, with VirtualBox. I'm just going to search all of them. I do have a little CX connected down here. So, okay, so this is something, it's only picked up my local network. So we can actually go back into VirtualBox and just have a quick look. To see how these have been set up. So these ones have been enabled. Let's have a little look. So 192.168.56.1. That looks okay to me. Let's have another little look at TwinCAT BSD. Let's just have a look at the network settings of this one. So it's using NAT, which should be fine. Don't see why not. There we go. Let's just do a host-only adapter. Host-only adapter is definitely going to use those virtual ports anyway. I'm not going to go into a big tutorial on how to set up networking in VirtualBox. So that's slightly outside of the scope of this one. I'm just going to say no. Use this internal one for the time being because I know this is pretty much going to work. So right, let's just go back to TwinCAT and just ask it to broadcast search again. All I've done there is just enabled it to use these two instead, rather than it trying to do a NAT across my main network connection. Which again, I don't want to force it to do anything that's over and above. And there we go. So what we found is it's actually found it both. It's found it on 2 different network adapters. So this one here, I'm going to say add root. Something to bear in mind. You have to use secure ADS unless you go in and change your firewall settings. So the unsecured version on TwinCAT BSD is locked by default. You have to unlock that. That's in the manual. You can do that. So just go in using secure ADS. You may as well. There we go. Administrator 1. Hit OK. It's connected like it would normally do. We're just going to close that down. Okay, that one to say that we're connected to this PCF. And that should be it. We're just going to activate the configuration. All going well. We should get a license. There we go. Do we want to generate a license? Which we do. We're going to go 8JFEG. Restarting to run mode. And we'll log in. Just on the edge of my screen there. And play. And there we go. We've got a rolling counter running on TwinCAT BSD. So yeah, there we go. You've got Jacob's video. You've got this video as well. Hopefully with the 2 of these together, you can pick a VM that you like to use. Just bear in mind, in the background, I've actually got an isolated core. So yeah, there's a little bit sometimes you have to do with virtual machines and isolated cores. I don't know. Again, fairly new to TwinCAT BSD at the moment. So far so good. I've really done no more tweaking than what you've seen me do already. So yeah, any comments, anything you want to write about on this one, feel free. I've got comments enabled on the videos. Yeah, love to hear from you all, and I hope this kicked you all off. Same as my journey into TwinCAT BSD. I hope you're starting your journey as well. Okay, speak to you soon.